G'day everybody, thanks for stopping by. Today's video, we're going to be having a look at the solar panel, and I got to tell you, it has been the solar panel that has impressed me the most out of all the solar panels that I've got. 165 watts, but it went to 173 watts. Now it's rated at, I'm going to have to double check, it's rated at a 200 watt panel. It's currently sitting at 170 watts now. That's bloody good. I'm going to leave that open because solar panels are always improving and I'm always getting new solar panels on the channel. I'm going to start focusing on a few more solar panels because they seem to be turning up a little more often. I'm just happy to get the products because I love tech. I love solar stuff, I love the solar generators, and I love lithium stuff as well. So I'm more than happy to be getting this stuff sent out to me for free. So one, so I can have it, and two, that I can actually make more content for the channel. Not a paid review, but I did get the panel for free. Now, doing the YouTube thing obviously allows me some benefits. We get the ability to have access to all these different products. And which one I would buy, to be honest, I can't really tell you. Ultimately, as far as the solar generators go, I must tell you, look, they're all much of a muchness. The things that you need to look at when you're looking at your solar generators is how much capacity do I need? So what do you want to run for how long? That's going to determine your capacity. How many outputs do I need? Do I need one or do I need two sockets? And how many USB outputs do I need? At the end of the day, there's a difference in the color, there's a difference in possibly a little bit of weight, there's certainly a difference in some of the prices, and the screen on the front. Beyond that, I've got to tell you, they're all pretty much the same. Pick the brand name that you like, pick the one that gives you the best warranty, make your purchase and away you go. Keep an eye out for Black Friday sales, you know, your June sales, your Christmas sales, all that sort of stuff. Providing you're not in a hurry, take your time, have a look at the products, go and have a look at all your reviews, and wait for them to be on sale. You're going to save yourself a bundle. Now, other things to consider when you're picking a solar generator are, how do I charge them? How quickly do they charge? Actually, every one of these solar panels is going to plug into your AC, so it's going to charge nice and quick. Some of them will plug into your car and will be supplied or not supplied with a cigarette lighter plug that'll plug into the front. Some of them will take a USB-C charge, but all of these, and I mean literally all of these, are referred to as solar generators. Because they're a solar generator, it means they're a battery and they can be combined with a solar panel to charge them up. The point I'm getting to is, when you're looking at buying solar panels to charge these, it's nice to have one solar panel that can charge the lot, and that's what we're going to be having a look at today. We're going to be having a look at the Rophie 200 watt, which is a good match for all of these. So I'm going to go and grab the Rophie panel out of the shed. It's in there. With all my other solar panels, so we're going to pull some of those out. We're going to give you a little bit of a comparison against some of the other guys, and I'm going to show you why I'm so impressed with it. Now, the reason I've gone and pulled out all these solar generators is I want to make a point. When you're buying a solar panel, if you're looking at running one of these solar generators, or you want to future-proof yourself, or just you're not sure what connector you've got, and you want to have the best chance of getting a solar panel that's going to fit one of these or multiple of these solar generators, what you need to do is look at something similar to the Rophie. Now, most of these, like the EcoFlows, the Blue Weddies, and the Jackies, indeed, you can buy these as part of a bundle, and often that's the best way to go about it. If you're thinking, I'll go and buy the generator first, I won't do it as a bundle, I'll pick myself up a solar panel later on. A couple of things you want to look at when you're picking a solar panel that's going to make it work in all these scenarios. If you open up the back of this here, in addition to having a little included manual, but I think everybody knows how solar panels work. One thing to note, there are no USB outputs on the back of this. It is just the solar panel with its MC4 outputs. It's a little bit same as the others, and it's a little bit different as well. As far as the solar panel itself goes, nice little pocket on the back, 2 meter long cable, which is a good length. What I've found is that I guess 2 meters is almost a perfect length, somewhere between sort of that 1.5 to 3 meters is nice. That generally means, though, that for the solar panel to be in the sun with only a 2 meter cord, it means that your solar generator is sitting out there as well. So I've always got a 5 meter MC4 extension cord on me as part of my kit. But that's where this comes in. If you're buying a solar panel, I'll say there's two connections that you want off the bat, just to make your life simpler. Either you want MC4 connectors, which this has, and it's got this extension lead with the adapters on it as well, or you want Anderson plug, your 50 amp Anderson plug, the standard Anderson plug that everybody knows. The reason I say that is because if you jump on Amazon or eBay or anything like that, or if you're accustomed to making your own cables, the likelihood that you can buy something that's going to fit MC4 or Anderson is a lot higher than anything else. As far as buying adapters from MC4 to pretty much anything else, or Anderson to anything else, your chances are much higher and your price is going to be a lot lower. So the fact that they've terminated this in an MC4 is an awesome thing. So that's nice. And then on the end of their adapter, you've got, I think it's 6 different connectors here as well. So that's going to work on a lot of our solar generators. That's why when you get your solar panels like this that have all the additional adapters included, it's a really nice thing and peace of mind. And of course, you know, you might not have something at the moment that you might buy in the future. If we have a look and see how some of the competitors do it. MC4 to like some sort of a barrel connector there. But it now means that I've got 5 of these adapters, and these are all sort of barrel type connectors. But it now means that I've got to have this little thing, and have this in a bag, because I've got 2 sets of these panels, and I've lost the other lot of these. So when I opened up the Rophie and I saw this, it's bigger, it's heavier, but you're not losing it. I don't know whether you've worked with MC4 connectors or not. MC4 connectors they've got these nice big press points, so that when they're connected, you don't need a tool to pull them apart. You can just do it by finger, and that's on both sides. Sometimes with the MC4 connectors you might find that on the positive, but you won't get it on the negative. But I'm happy to report that they have done that on both sides. Good work, Rophie. Let's get into some stats, and then we'll have a look at the solar panel itself. The Rophie 200 watt solar panel, model number is SC020. It says high conversion rate. It says something around 23%. Based on my performance tests to date and comparing it to all of these other solar panels that I'm going to give you a quick look at later on, at this point in time, this Rophie solar panel has been my best performing solar panel in relation to what the manufacturer claims as the output of the panel. So they're saying 200 watts. I've seen 175 watts coming out of this solar panel. Now that's about 87.5% of the manufacturer's rated output that we're seeing out of this panel. The highest that I've seen on the others, I believe, was around about 82%. Again, the rating on this panel is a 200 watt. Open volt is 24.48, which is slightly higher than some of the other panels, and is a nice combination to work with some of your solar generators here. So between all the solar generators, we're looking for an input somewhere around about 10 to 11 at the lower end. For the smaller ones, up to about that 30 volt, and for the bigger ones, somewhere between 50 and 60 volts. So for an open circuit of about 24 volts, that is absolutely perfect for matching up with your solar generators. I think they've done a really good job on this in keeping this unique by making it really, really thin, keeping the size down, but making it nice and robust as well. All folded down, it ends up being a bit of a square package, around about 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. Folded out, you're going to get about 2.2. So when the panel initially turned up and I took it out of the box, I was really impressed with it. Like it's just that little bit unique. And I got to tell you, when it comes to this sort of stuff, solar generators, solar panels, it's really, really nice to see something that's just that little bit different. Now, it's certainly taken a few design cues from some of the other solar panels I've got. Magnets in the handle here, like this, for closing it up. That's reminiscent of the Jacky. So your Jacky also got magnets. Thinness of the panels itself, like you can see, there's no messing about, there's no additional padding, there's got a real light canvas on the back, but aside from that, you're almost looking at just the thickness of the solar panel itself. Now that reminds me very much of one of these flexible type solar panels that I've got. This one's the Atom 200, which is going to go on the Caravan. You can see the thickness of those is very, very similar. Now I was really impressed with this one when it turned up, just because of the thickness, how easy this is going to mount. Not so much impressed with the output though, unfortunately. So when this one turned up and I saw that it was very similar to that in thickness, etc., I thought, oh no, we're going to have similar sort of output. With that one, I get around about 120 watts to 130 watts out of that 200 watt panel. This one, folding, 175 watts I've seen out of this, and I reckon I can do better. When I saw the reviews and everybody was saying how lightweight it was, when the box turned up and I picked it up, I'm like, oh, Okay, this is not as lightweight as I thought it was going to be. I would say this is middle of the road as far as weight goes. Righto, almost bang on 6 kilos. We'll go with one of the All Powers. So that's 6.6 kilos. Still lighter than that one. Not massively though. 5.2 kilos, so it's only a kilo heavier than a 110 watt panel. And then this JGM panel, which granted is a 250 watt panel. It's older technology, so it is an absolute beast. It's an older solar panel. 7.5 kilos. Obviously we've got the panel with the little pouch on the back. That's pretty much a standard thing. Jacky, pouch on the back. All Powers, pouch on the back. Really old JJM, pouch on the back. These legs, these are a lot more sturdy than some of the other variants. We've got the elastic on the back, so that's going to limit how far they're going to lean out, so the whole thing's not going to pop out and fold over. Press studs on the back, similar to what we've got on the Jacky, except that we've got the Velcro here, and that just makes it easier to pack up. Unfortunately, the longevity of Velcro isn't quite as good as a setup like this, so I think they've done a better job here. Certainly, if we have a look at the All Powers one, and you have a look at this thing, this was the weakness of this panel. It gives you full range, which is nice. You don't get that on the Rophie. But these things just pop off. They're flimsy. These on the All Powers was just a bit of a design flaw or poor choice, basically. The material on the outside is good quality. IP65 rated, which means you can leave it out in the rain. Not going to be an issue. You obviously can't put it underwater, but why would you? So when you get this home, it's dirty from camping, you can go out, hit it with a hose. I'm a big fan of this sort of connection going in here. It's a nice, solid connection. That rubber's fitting into the plastic mold, and that's just not going to pull out. So a really nice termination here of the cable to the solar panel. The material on the back certainly seems to be robust. Doesn't look like it's going to have any issues as far as, being worn, being rubbed. Obviously time will tell. Now we've got the ETFE coating, which is that little dimpled coating that you see. That also makes the panels more rugged, certainly as far as having the dog walk on it, something along those lines, or if you're going to be throwing these out at camp, something goes across it, something runs across it. I don't know whether you want to drive a car across it because these are so thin. I'd anticipate that they would probably just flex rather than being damaged, but I wouldn't want to be testing that out. Of course, you've got grommets on all of the holes for pegging it down. Again, these are a relatively lightweight panel, which means that you're probably going to want to peg these down in the wind. You get to any of these solar panels, save for that glass panel from Jacky, you pretty much want to go and peg these down if you've got a windy situation when you're out camping anyway. But how I typically use these panels, same as the one on the roof of the car or the Pajero when I'm camping, is I just lie it out flat and I don't chase the sun. I won't use the legs, literally just throw it on the ground and I'll just take what I get. I can see dog prints on this one now. Another thing I did with this, and I don't think I've got any footage of it, but I threw this in the back of the Pajero and it's been sitting there for 2 weeks. Hot sun, we've had sort of 40+ degree days here in Australia. That Pajero's been sitting at the front in full sun and this was just sitting in the back. Now what I did, I intentionally had it uneven, so one end down, one end up, because I wanted to see whether being in the sun and being bent like this was going to have any permanent effects on the panel itself. And I can happily tell you that pulling this out now, there's been no ill effects of this sitting in a hot car, probably 60+ degrees, on a weird angle, leaned up, putting a bend in it. Hasn't affected it one way or the other. The reason I did that was Jacky has been sitting in that same car, or has been sitting in the Commodore actually. And what I found, it's actually straightened out now because I've had it sitting out the sun laying down flat. But when I had this one in the car, it actually started to get a bit of a bend in it, and I was getting a little bit concerned. And what I've actually found is, now this is only a 100 watt panel, but what I've actually found is the performance on this one seems to have dropped off a little bit. Now I don't know whether that's been because it's been in the car under those conditions, but that's why I wanted to subject this one to those conditions as well before I wrapped up my review. As far as the Rophie 200 watt panel, it's a real simple setup. So pretty straightforward, but I also want to grab the Jackery out and show you how easy that is to set up. Now it's pretty much the identical setup on the back. Stands on the back of the Jackery are just a single piece, they're straight out. On the Rophie, we'll give you a look at this in a sec, there's the straight piece and then it bends out from about here. The other issue is that the Jackery panel, whilst being only 2 panels, is a little bit more rigid. So this is what you give away for the convenience of it being so thin and being so lightweight. Now for me, this little Jackery 100-watt panel, I guess is the gold standard as far as setup. So we'll just give you an idea of how easy it is to set this up versus the Rophie that we just threw up. So at the other end of the spectrum, in challenging panels to set up, let's go and throw up the all powers and we'll show you that one. I think you can see the way that's leaning here. That's because one of the legs just snapped on me. The plastic literally just snapped. You can see the Jackery stands up nice and proud. Does a really good job. You can see those legs are nice and firm. Nice wide legs as well. And you can just see how rigid that panel is. Here's our all powers, and unfortunately you can see this is just snapped. So that's unfortunate. But I've got 2 of these, and you can just see those legs are just quite flimsy and they're hard to get straight. Back of the Rophie, I'm going to say this is somewhere in the middle. We've got nice thick legs. We've got our retention straps there holding everything together. We've got the buttons on the bottom to hold onto the panel when folded up. We're relatively rigid. We're somewhere in the middle between the Jackery and the all powers there. You can see this corner here, you're starting to get a bit of a bend on it. That's because that leg is in the middle, and again, just because this material is so flexible, it's just so lightweight, it's just so thin. Now, if you're in the market for induction cookers, have a look at the toe kit review up here. Really impressed with how this works. Again, lightweight, convenient, all that sort of stuff. More to the point, it's how it operates and how it draws power. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, go and have a look at the review, all explained up there. Currently I've got this pulling around about the 1000 watts, so we're just running that just to draw down this Jackery. But what I'm actually seeing is we're getting 143 watts out of this solar panel, and it's not pointed even directly at the sun. So as far as the angle of the sun, I'm going to say it's probably pretty close. It's super thin, it's lightweight, it folds up really, really nice. And it's part of the reason that I really like the product as well, is because it is that. It is so thin compared to all the other panels. It's unbelievable. And because it's tech, you know, we all love our tech stuff, most of us do. I like that it's a bit innovative, it's a little bit unique, it's a little bit different. Enough for me to pull it out and go, yeah, I really, really like this. Because it's so thin, you get this bending like this when it's sat out in the sun. Now that probably not going to affect the performance. If it does, it would be probably about this much. We've only got the 3 kickstands. That makes it easier for it to fold up, and I understand that, but it does make it a little less rigid when you're standing it up. Again, mostly when I go out camping, I'm using my solar panels, they're flat out on the ground, and I'll just take what I get. And you are limited on the angle that you can get to point this towards the sun. But as far as being able to lean these back, if that sun's, you know, almost directly above but not quite directly above, that's about as far back as you're getting them, which is probably about 45 degrees. Now in that situation, all I do is go and pick those panels up, and just lay it flat out like that. Now, not an ideal scenario because we are on the cement. Cement's going to get hot. Solar panels are less effective or less efficient when they get hot. Obviously, if we're out camping, they would be on the grass. For me, having a solar panel that gives good output is nice, because obviously if I want to chase the sun, I can maximize that output. But it also means that if I just want to lay the panel down and I'm not chasing the sun, I'm still going to get a reasonable output. So I'm probably going to get the same level of output out of this laying in this position that I am out of some of those other solar panels that are less efficient when chasing the sun. So laying that down like that, we've gone from around about the 140 odd watts and we're down to about 108 watts now. Now compared to the oil powers, if I had those laid out, 200 watt panel pointing towards the sun, I sent around 120. But they're at the more budget end, certainly less than the Jacky EcoFlow and Blue Eddy options. That, what I'm calling a caravan panel, this flexible panel here, or again, around about the 120 odd watts, chasing the sun, having it angled at the sun. Haven't been particularly impressed with that panel itself. So to have this panel just laying out there on the ground like that, still pulling in 110 odd watts, it's just a good thing. It's just an efficient panel. It's just a good output panel. So just to prove a point, what I've now done is gone and thrown out the Jacky 100 watt solar panel out there into the same position that the Rophie was. It was performing on the same level based on 100 watts versus 200 watts compared to the Rophie. We should be seeing around about 54 watts. If you look and show what we're seeing out of that Jacky now, 100 watt solar panel, laying flat, not pointing directly at the sun. $35 watts. Let me go and just angle it up. Which, as I may or may not have mentioned earlier in the video, is that when I originally got that solar panel, I think I was seeing 70 to 80 watts. It was doing really, really well. And then I've thrown in the Commodore and it sat in that sun, and because of, again, the design, it's fairly flexible. It's just been sitting on the back seat and it's bent and all that sort of stuff. And even though I've straightened it out, it now just doesn't perform as good as it used to. Now that I've stood that up, we're seeing, I did see 50 watts out of that. So we're seeing about 50% performance. Not pointed directly at the sun, but close enough, same as the Rophie was. Where the Rophie, if it was a 100 watt panel, was outputting around about 72 watts. The Jacky, 50 watts. So we're talking around about a 20 watt difference over 100 watts. Improvement of the Rophie over the Jacky. Just wanted to show you that and trying to help you understand why I'm so impressed with this Rophie. The genuineness, and I'm going to be using this, camping, etc. I'm just going to drag this across the cement because we want to test and see how it holds up. If I'm out camping, that's probably how I'm going to treat the panel. I'm not going to pick it up with kid gloves and move it and adjust it. I'm just going to grab it and I'm just going to drag it. You can see it sitting out there in the sun. We are now in the shade. So we're seeing about 100 watts, 95 watts, which is not too bad. Again, just considering that it is, well, it is pretty much completely overcast. You can see all that cloud. The sun is up there somewhere. I mean, literally, it is complete overcast. Okay, so I'm just out and giving the Commodore a bit of a clean out, and the Jacky 1000 has gone flat. You can see it's basically gone flat. It might have a little bit because we just did a drive. Got 7%, so there'll be enough to kick off the fridge, but not to run it full time. I've got the Pajero plugged in over there to the 240 volts, so what I'm going to do is just grab the Rophie and just lay it out here in the sun while I'm cleaning out the car and just see how it goes. The reason I want to grab it is because it's kind of patchy sun. You can see that, like it's a bit overcast. So I just want to see how it performs in, kind of slightly cloudy conditions, if you will. Because thus far, I've been very impressed with how it performs in full sun. I think at this stage, without laying all the other solar panels beside it, which we'll do, or you've already seen, I think it is now my best performing solar panel. So I'll quickly turn you on. The sun is out, but it's still behind the clouds. You can see right behind me there. And straight away, this panel, we just jumped to 173 watts. Look, that, I think you can see the sun there. It's like that sort of cloud. It's like a low light cloud. The panel itself is laying flat on the cement. Now it is going to be cool because I've only just pulled it out of the house, been sitting there looking at me, just begging for me to take it out and set it up, which is why I just wanted to grab it and hook it up to the car now. 165 watts, but it went to 173 watts. Now it's rated at, I'm going to have to double check, it's rated at a 200 watt panel. It's currently sitting at 170 watts now. That's bloody good. Actually, they're the two figures that you really care about. What's the manufacturer saying it is? Because that's what's going to prompt me to buy it. I'm going to say, look, I need a 200 watt panel. These guys, brand X is saying this is a 200 watt panel. So I'm going to go and buy that 200 watt panel. The other thing that matters is when they're saying it's going to give me 200 watts, what am I going to get out of it? Now, at the end of the day, we know we're not getting 200 watts out of a 200 watt panel. It's just not going to happen. But there are some wild differences between any rated panels as to what you're actually going to get out of them compared to what they reckon you're going to get out of them. So 173 watts, slightly cloudy conditions, laying flat on the ground. Mate, I am super impressed with that. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with that. I've got a 200 watt panel, flexible solar panel that's going to go on the roof of the caravan. I'm probably going to buy a couple more. I'm going to remove those heavy glass ones. And the best I see out there is about 125 watts. The dual panel Jacky that I've got, review to come on that as well, because I want you to see that. I'm seeing around about the 80 on that. So it was up until this date, until I got the Rophie, it was my best performing solar panel output versus manufacturer rating. The others are around 60 to 70 watts is what I'm seeing, again, per 100, 60 to 70% of their rated output. So, if it was a 100 watt panel, I'm seeing somewhere between 60 and 70 watts. Some of them as low as 50, depending on conditions. But 173, these conditions. Anyway, you get the point. Just wanted to give you a look at it. I just wanted to bring it out and test it. But Rophie, Jesus Christ. Apologies for the blaspheming. That's how impressed I am with this. Really impressed. Now, when Rophie did reach out to me, I said, look, I've got the Pajero. I'm rewiring the back of the Pajero to take some extra panels. I've got that Jacky 1000 in the back of this. If you're going to send me a 200 watt panel, can I have two, please? Because I want to be able to pump 400 watts into these things. And they said, look, we've just started this relationship. Slow down, pal. But if you're happy with the 200 and the review goes well and whatever, and you're happy with it, and we're happy with what you do here on the channel, we've got a 400 watter coming up. We'll talk about that. So watch this space if you're interested in a 400 watter. Don't know the time frame, don't know anything like that. They just said they've got a 400 watter coming up, and all going well, we might get a chance to look at that on the channel as well. So subby, whatever you need to do for that. So it's probably about time that we wrap this up. This review's getting long enough. As far as the wrap up goes, forgetting everything else, if it did nothing else right, if it was an absolute pain in the backside to wrap up, if it looked like a dog's breakfast, it didn't have all those connectors and I had to make something up, if it put that output like it did, the 173 odd watts that we see now of a 200 watt panel, I'd still be happy with it and be happy to put that in the shed or in the back of the four-wheel drive. But the fact that it's still reasonably easy, or one of the easier panels to set up, the fact that it's robust, it's unique looking, everything about it for me just says I don't, and the quality control on this is just outstanding. There is just nothing. There is not a single flaw on this whole panel, front or back, that I can complain about. Now, based on my experience with the half a dozen odd different brands of solar panels that I've got, from expensive to budget, and I can't wait to get my hand on the blue Weddy one that's going to be coming soon. This thing for me, from a purchase perspective, is a no-brainer. Now, normally I don't recommend products for purchase, and I don't know how this is going to perform long term. I just don't. But if you're in the market for sort of a third-party solar panel, then I can wholeheartedly give this one a thumbs up and recommend it. It's just really impressed me. Providing that you can put up with it being that little bit flimsy. But if you're just looking for a solar panel to throw on the ground, which is how I typically use them, you've got your adapter. It's robust. It's a really nice looking panel. I'm going to have to say thumbs up. One of the things that I saw on their website was, we'll give you a solar panel, this solar panel, and stick your name on the front, whatever you want written on the front. Now, I don't know whether there's an additional cost for that, etc. But you can get these with names. So if you wanted to be an on-seller or something along those lines, I think that's what it's intended for. I don't know whether they'll do it for an individual product, or whether they only do that if you're going to buy in bulk. I don't know. I'm going to hit them up. So for future reference, if they're happy with this review, and it does well, fingers crossed for me as well, And they do come up with that 400 watt solar panel. Again, I'm going to hit them up and say, please can I have two? They're probably not going to do it. But I'm going to ask them if I can get Den Monkey on the solar panel. We'll see if that works out. Anyway, that is the Rophie 200 watt solar panel SC020. Up to this point, the panel that impressed me most was that Jacky glass panel, that dual-sided panel. Man, that thing is a piece of artwork, an absolute piece of artwork. And I kid you not, when I eventually get set up in my own place, that thing is going to get hung up on a wall. It literally is going to get hung up on the wall like a piece of art. And then it's got the output to boot. Still not as good as the Rophie, but really impressive performance for that panel. Meet the new king. Thanks very much for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.